go with Cam Young at 30-1. I think it's a really nice course for him at the Rocket Mortgage in Detroit, Michigan for him. Wyndham Clark at 36-1. And I also like Alex Noren at 60-1.
My Morency drunken Brett dart toss golf pick, which does win like 2-3 times a year, guys. Insanely enough. But I'm going to say Matt Fitzpatrick.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
I do believe that SJ now is the number one player in the world. The things that he can do from the point of attack, offensively and defensively, his ability to drive downhill and score at all three levels. And the thing I like most about this young man at 26, he's so humble. He's so humble. And that speaks to the whole culture of OKC that Sam Presti and Mark Daigneault has built. Humble team, folks.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
No way that I'm betting on the Cleveland Cavaliers for any reason whatsoever.
No.
Ever. Like, when they had LeBron James, it was a different story. I think Spider's great. He's no LeBron. I don't see him carrying them to a title. And I don't believe in the Knicks at all. The Knicks never get it done.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Kevin Durant, at the age of 36 years old, after 17 seasons that he has played in the NBA DRS, is now on his way to H-Town.
I don't think it's a great move. I wanted him to go to a ready-made championship team full of a veteran roster and see if he can ring chase that way. Not to go to an organization on the come-up that if you just stay the course, and also, what better blueprint do we have than just staying the course than OKC, right?
The Early Line, only on Sports.
Good morning. Welcome to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. I'm Craig Mish. Great to be back with you here on our Monday edition of the show. Was out for a few days, traveling to Cooperstown, New York. I'll tell you all about that trip coming up a little bit later in the show. Of course, we've got some great guests here on the program. Pat Evans will be with us from Legal Sports Report. We'll dive into the latest in the NBA as free agency is underway. Gilbert McGregor will be part of our program. And Tom Vecchio breaks down the latest in Major League Baseball. But let's begin with yet another sports betting potential controversy, and this one surrounding a very popular player who was about to get paid in the National Basketball Association. This is Malik Beasley on the Detroit Pistons, or now it looks like formerly of the Detroit Pistons, on allegations of gambling-related events in NBA games and prop bets, some developments surrounding one of the top free agents in the league. According to CBS Sports, the game in question was against the Milwaukee Bucks, and it was a Trailblazers-Bucks matchup. The odds on Beasley hitting some unders for rebounds was 2.5. It went from plus 120 to minus 250. He had 6 rebounds in the game. There's a lot of speculation, but really no facts here, but we'll keep an eye on this. And, of course, Beasley awaits his next destination in free agency. May have to wait a little bit longer. Also in the National Basketball Association, an exercise of a contract of $52.6 million for one season. Can only be one player getting that, right? LeBron James has exercised his one-year deal to stay with the Los Angeles Lakers. CEO Rich Paul of Clutch Sports said, so he will play next season in the NBA, and then what happens still remains to be seen. The Lakers, of course, coming off what you would say is somewhat of a disappointing season with LeBron, but they do have Luka Doncic now, so we'll see if that changes next year. Julius Randle has decided to stay with the Minnesota Timberwolves. His extension is 3 years and $100 million. Randle coming off a massive double-double season with the Timberwolves as they had a nice run in the NBA playoffs, so Randle is staying home. Same could be said for the Beard. He is staying also with the Los Angeles Clippers. That, of course, is James Harden. He gets a 2-year, $81.5 million contract. He stays with the Los Angeles Clippers. 22.8 points a game last season, 8.7 assists, 5 rebounds a game. He led the NBA with 129 step-back three-pointers. Whatever that stat is in the NBA, that's according to Genius Sports. The Bucks have signed Bobby Portis to a 3-year contract worth $44 million. and Portis will also get a very hefty payday there. The Charlotte Hornets, they have made a trade, and they acquire Colin Sexton for the Jazz for Yusef Nurkic, and so that's a very big trade, no doubt. Aldridge Potgeider, have you ever heard of him? He won the Rocket Classic on the PGA Tour, not the biggest names playing, of course, on the PGA Tour this week. He finished 22 under, and he won in a playoff, and if you've never heard of him, you're probably not the only one, but the British Open is almost a couple weeks away, I think, so get ready for that as well. All right, some sad news from the world of Major League Baseball. Speaking of Cooperstown, Dave Parker, the Cobra, who is set to be inducted into the Hall of Fame in July, passed away over the weekend. One of the great players of his era in the 1980s, of course, part of some great teams with the Pittsburgh Pirates, including a World Series championship. Parker also played for the Cincinnati Reds, Milwaukee Brewers, California Angels, Oakland Athletics, was set to be inducted next month. Passed away. He had Parkinson's disease. Best pitcher in baseball remains Tariq Skubal of the Detroit Tigers. What another day for him yesterday. Looks like it's only 13 strikeouts, and they beat the Twins 3-0. Did Detroit. The Tigers certainly are going to need him down the stretch and into the postseason as we get ready for the All-Star break. Skubal probably the starter for the American League. The Houston Astros get a win over the Chicago Cubs 2-0. Framber Valdez, 6 shutout innings. The Cubs have been struggling a bit on offense as they go down 2-0. Here's Craig Counsell talking about trying to get things figured out.
Yeah, well, we created a really good chance in the first, and then squared up some balls with Seiya and Dansby. Squared up 2 baseballs right at him. Unfortunately, Tuck's ground balls very hard hit in the third, and then he kind of settled in, and we didn't do much. And then in the 7th, their bullpen, those 2 guys, Abreu and Hader, they're 2 of the best. And Valdez got deep enough in the game where they could go right to them, and Abreu did a great job. I mean, Bushy just, you kind of, that's the one pitch you want back, because I think he took a good swing at the right pitch, and he just missed it. And then Abreu did a nice job.
All right, now to Aaron Judge, the New York Yankees. Not quiet anymore. 2 more home runs as the Yankees beat the Sacramento A's. Final score 12-5. Judge, no doubt, will be a starter in the upcoming All-Star game in Atlanta, but 2 more home runs. Talked about his offensive output on Sunday.
Oh, it was huge, especially going to the rubber match there. Must-win game, especially to go out there and win the series. Going up against Severino, who we know well, who's always pitches us tough, and for Jazz to go out there with 1 swing, kind of give us a lead and kind of spark everything, and then even some of his defensive plays, they were really impressive, man. That's why I call the guy he's a game changer. He continues to change the game on both sides of the ball, and looking forward to more of that.
Been quite a laugh for Marcus on the IL. Just what stood out to you about the way he was throwing the ball?
Attacking their hitters, using every single one of his pitches, using that sinker cutter combo well. We missed him. He's a guy that's done this for a long time. You see a lot of guys who come back from injuries kind of seem a little rusty, or they got to work on a couple things, but he looked like he's been, had 15 starts under his belt. So excited to see that, excited to see his next start here when we come back home or come back to play the Mets. So it'll be a good one.
Speaking of the Mets, boy, what is going on with them? It has not been a good run, to say the least. They got swept by the Pirates, a 3-game sweep. O'Neill Cruz homered twice for Pittsburgh, and they win the game by a final score of 12-1. The month of June has not been kind to the New York Metropolitans. They're going to have to get things going in order to stay on top or even make the postseason. Some pressure on Carlos Mendoza, no doubt about that. After the game, talked about the Mets' continued struggles.
Carlos, this has obviously been a rough month and a rough stretch here, these 13 straight games. How badly do your guys need the day off tomorrow, and what do you hope they take out of it?
Yeah, it's frustrating, and we are all frustrated, obviously. We're not going to lie. We're better than that, and they know that. It's a tough stretch, but we got to be better. It starts with me. We believe in those guys. Off day tomorrow, and then we got another good team coming into town, and the Brewers. They're playing well. So we got to bring our best game. Like I said, continue to support the guys, but obviously we're not happy about it.
Hopefully a lot. It's a tough stretch for sure, and hopefully getting that day off, the mental day off, and getting away from the field, we can come back and get back on the horse.
All right, so the Mets will try to get things straightened out. Meanwhile, there have been 2 trades made in the last 24 hours by the Miami Dolphins, and they involve the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers are trading former first-round pick Minkah Fitzpatrick to Miami for Pro Bowl quarterback Jalen Ramsey, and also in a separate trade, Jonnu Smith is headed out of South Florida, also goes to Pittsburgh, and involved in that deal is a late-round swap. Coming up in about 15 minutes, our SportsGrid insider Adam Caplan will break down the latest in the National Football League as we folks are just 2 weeks away from training camps opening in a couple of different locations in the National Football League. All right, coming up next here on the show, we dive into the latest Major League Baseball. We'll take a look at the evening slate as baseball heads toward the All-Star break coming up in about a week and a half from now. Also, you can download the SportsGrid app. It's available for both iOS and Android. Just take out your phone and scan this QR code that appears on your screen. The SportsGrid app is streaming 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, news, notes, information, and the very best high-quality video that you can imagine when it comes to the sports betting industry and the sports betting space. It is the SportsGrid app. Again, scan that code right there, that QR code available for both iOS and Android. Do is we'll take a quick time out here on the show. Time to talk some Major League Baseball here on this Monday edition of NewsWire. We'll be back after this quick timeout. Stay on the grid. You're watching NewsWire, and we'll be right back after these messages.
Playing online blackjack and want to try upping your odds? Well, here's a tip. Cheat cards tell you statistics for whether you hit or stand on every move. If you're into stats, this could be your ticket to winning. And it is totally legal. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
The 2 guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that ring. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of
15.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Major League Baseball takes center stage now for about a month until the NFL preseason begins. So let's dive into it with Tom Vecchio, who joins us now to go over some odds. We'll take a look at some divisions. Tom, great to see you back here on NewsWire. Appreciate you making the appearance here on this Monday. And we'll get to the good news last. We're starting with the bad news first here on the show. And that would involve the New York Mets, which is sort of stunning to see what's gone on with them here in June. Now, Tom, I always say this over the course of the season, everyone's going to look great at some point, and everyone's going to look bad at some point. But here are the numbers. The Mets were outscored 30-4 in 3 games against a team that can't score in the Pittsburgh Pirates. Offense isn't working. Pitching isn't working. 3-13 in their last 16 games. Is this more than just a slump to you, Tom? Or is this, again, what happens to every team over the course of the season?
I would say that this is slightly more than a slump. And to me, it's losing's okay. It happens. But I almost want to say how you lose. Where let's just look at the Phillies, for example. They lost a couple close games against the Astros earlier this week. Okay, you're losing 1-0, 2-1, whatever it might be. That's not bad when it's all said and done. The record doesn't look good. And then you win a close game here or there. But the fact that the Mets have pitching issues and now hitting issues, that's a really tough thing with, Montas not looking good yesterday. They lost, obviously, Canning for the season. Senga's still on IL. Like, there's so much going on. Sean Manaea has been set back in his recovery. So they need to make a move, because if they are now not hitting and their pitching is now taking a big step back, the pitching had been unbelievable to start the season. This is a really, really concerning sign. The one note I would make is that Steve Cohen has always shown the ability or the propensity to go all chips into the middle to make moves to make the team better. So if they get Manaea back, if they get Senga back, and then they make a trade, things can be fine, but they need to get all the balls rolling at the same time.
No doubt. The Mets, by the way, their win total was, I believe it was 96, 97 going into the June, now all the way down to 90 on the FanDuel Sportsbook. Still right there to win the East, but that number is plus as opposed to minus, which it was just a few weeks ago. Same could be said a few weeks ago of the St. Louis Cardinals. Tom, this is a team that has been down and down and now back up again. Man, hard team to figure out here. And they sweep the Guardians over the weekend, and they're putting themselves into a position that they did not expect to be, which is in the playoff position. They are 5-1 to win the division, and this is with their GM leaving after the season, saying that we're not going to make any crazy moves here at the deadline too. So, I mean, hard to buy on St. Louis here. And meanwhile, take a look at the Brewers, Tom. 47-37 every year. They're still in the mix with the Cubs leading the way. Do you think the Cubs at minus 230 have a stranglehold on this division, or can somebody else win it?
I think the Cubs are the best team. I also don't like their odds. It's a situation where both things can be true. The Brewers, obviously, they've also had a ton of pitching injuries. To me, the Cardinals, obviously outside of Sonny Gray, I could see teams, and I just don't think they'll move him, but I could see teams wanting to trade for an Eric Fedde, Miles Michaelis. Arenado's apparently been on the trade block for years at this point. So, for me, for the Cardinals, I would say like those pieces, you could be getting valuable assets back to set you up for the future, especially when you have a new GM coming in. He may have a new plan that you want to take center stage and build for the future. So I'm not sure what to make of the Cardinals. I really don't. They've been playing great, but to what end almost?
Now let's get to the team that, again, it gets to the summer, it gets hot, and here come the Astros again, another season, Tom. They win yesterday 2-0. Jose Altuve hits 2 home runs. And it's not like they're beating up on bad teams either. I mean, the Astros and the Cubs, that's who they've played most recently and have been able to win 5 out of 6 games. And the other thing that has happened here, Tom, is that, as not Framber Valdez, Kyle Tucker is gone. Yordan Alvarez has been banged up. So they're not scoring runs generally like they usually do. But with Hunter Brown and Framber Valdez fronting this rotation, how far can they go?
I honestly think that they have potential for, I want to say ALCS, and not a surprise, the Astros in the playoffs, they can make another run for it. Obviously, last year was a bit of a down year. And, considering where the odds sit at this point, when we look at the team, that's led by Skubal, who was unbelievable last night, and they're going to be one of the favorites. And then, we look to potentially the Yankees, who obviously will always take a ton of public money. The Astros are in a good spot. Now, I don't think they will continue at this rate. Obviously, with the Mariners getting Logan Gilbert back recently, I think they will continue to improve. And Mariners, they got to continue to make some moves, whether it be pitching or hitting help. But the Astros are just like some sleeping giant where, sure, they take a little bit of time to get rolling at the beginning of the season. But once June, July rolls around, and again, they have also been a team that are willing to make moves once the trade deadline gets here. I mean, how can you not want to back them, especially if they're going to be one of the longer shots compared to the Yankees or the Tigers?
Agreed. The Yankees are favored to win the American League, but we've seen a massive rise for the Tigers here, Tom, for some of the reasons that you're alluding to here. I think reason number one is in a 7-game series, you have the best pitcher throwing 3 times in Skubal. And reason number two is the Tigers haven't been in it in a really long time. And you would have to imagine come trade deadline, that's a team that's going to be adding. Houston's also 4-1 as well. Tampa Bay has actually jumped into the mix here at under 10-1. And I'm going to need to see more from Seattle to believe they're for real.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Compared to considering what the Tigers did last year when they traded away Flaherty, this is the time to strike. I really do think this is the time to strike for them. Considering their line, I love what their lineup does, the way they mix and match players. And if you watch a lot of Tigers games, like they're always going first to third on singles. Like they are playing in a very unique style this season. Colt Keith, they have Zach McKinstry. Like all these players deserve more credit compared to the Torkelson or Riley Green. And I know Kerry Carpenter got hurt last time with hamstring, and they hit a ton of home runs. And Skubal is obviously unbelievable, Cy Young candidate. But they have a lot of really, really strong pieces that play like a really great style of baseball. And I think we want to go, or the Tigers should be willing to go all chips to the middle and take a shot at the World Series this year.
Finally, Aaron Judge is the heavy favorite to win the MVP. Tom, I got to tell you, I mean, if Cal Raleigh was anywhere on this East Coast, man, there's no way he'd be 7-1 to win this MVP. It feels like some East bias there. He's been fantastic. How do you not give a catcher the MVP?
I know, and that's part of it. It's also, if Cal Raleigh was a first baseman or an outfielder and he was hitting 30 home runs, you would say, okay. I do think that there's a positional bias or whatever you want to call it. But if a catcher is doing something that we generally don't see, there has to be some merit given to that. Whatever you want to call it. We have to put extra stock into him doing something that we don't normally like to see. I wouldn't bet on Cal Raleigh at this point because we missed the best number at 25 or 30 to 1, but he should be in the conversation.
Agreed. Tom, great stuff. Have a great rest of your day. Thanks for coming on NewsWire.
Thanks for having me.
Our SportsGrid insider, Adam Caplan, gets to weigh in on 2 trades that went down in the last 24 hours, getting closer to the National Football League season. Adam joins us next here on NewsWire.
Playing online blackjack and want to try upping your odds? Well, here's a tip. Cheat cards tell you statistics for whether you hit or stand on every move. If you're into stats, this could be your ticket to winning. And it is totally legal. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
The 2 guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that ring. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
Just a little flyer, couple of thoughts.
15.5 point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Could the NFL have a future look at guaranteed contracts? That's part of the discussion we're going to have here with Adam Caplan, our SportsGrid NFL insider. But Adam, welcome back. Before we do that, let's hit on these trades real quick. A couple of NFL trades popping here out of nowhere, not in February or March or April or May, but like here on the eve of training camp starting. And ironically, 2 trades with the Dolphins and Steelers. So let's start off with the marquee one. Nobody knew Minkah Fitzpatrick better than the Dolphins when they drafted him, so they trade him to Pittsburgh. and now he's going back to Miami, a player-for-player trade. Tell us more why this happened.
Yeah, which you rarely see. Yeah, Craig, it's kind of, this is almost like an NBA trade. So basically, this is my understanding of the last 10 minutes. The Dolphins were looking to move cash. They were looking to kind of get younger. We'll take a look at some younger players. Cam Smith at corner. They're not real good at tight end, but they moved Jonnu Smith. They did not want to extend his contract. They didn't want to pay more money. So they moved his contract to the Steelers. We'll get to them in a second. And when you look at their situation here with Jalen Ramsey, we've talked about this on SportsGrid for months. They were going to move him. They wanted to move him. The Rams were among the teams that had interest. The Rams were very public about their interest for him, but the Steelers found a way to make it work. And part of this to make it work was to move Jalen Ramsey for the Steelers to take on so much money. Mm-hmm. They had to move cash, and they were able to move the guy you mentioned, Micah Fitzpatrick, will go back to Miami. So the players that were moved were Jonnu Smith and Jalen Ramsey will go to the Steelers, and the Steelers move Micah Fitzpatrick back to where it started from. So why were the Steelers doing this? This is the question that we're seeing in social media. Because remember now, the Dolphins signed Darius Slade to a 1-year, $10 million deal, right? They have Joey Porter Jr., who they really like as their other starting corner. Mm-hmm. Well, why would you bring in Jalen Ramsey and all this cash? You're talking about over $25 million. Well, again, they just moved Micah Fitzpatrick $15.5 million, so they saved money there. But the big thing is they are going for it, Craig. This is a go-for-it type of position. When you sign Aaron Rodgers, right, who's on a 1-year deal and was made it pretty clear this is probably going to be it for him. And when you have this kind of roster and you haven't won a playoff game since 2016, you're going for it, okay? You get it, Jonnu Smith, who gets reunited with Arthur Smith. The two know each other, obviously, from their days with Tennessee and Atlanta. And by the way, Craig, Jonnu Smith had a very good year. That's the thing about this whole deal. Let's not forget, he did very well.
Yeah, so let's play the other side of this. As the season ended, Adam, here in South Florida, I mean, most of the media, and I mean, I don't know if I'm still considered the Dolphins media, but most of the media sort of intimated that this was going to be a step back season for the Dolphins. Did they just, Adam, wait as long as they could without admitting it to South Florida until now? Because the signals they just sent, I mean, Jonnu Smith was Tua's #1 target for a period of time during the season. Yep. Is that the signal here? Is that Miami, they may middle around 500, but don't expect much more?
Well, it's not a rebuild. There's definitely not a rebuild. It's kind of a retooling of the roster. You move Jonnu Smith, who turns 30. Jalen Ramsey turns 31 this fall. Jonnu Smith turns 30 in August, and they were not going to take care of him. Drew Rosenhaus's agent made it pretty clear in any interviews that it wouldn't happen, but something might happen elsewhere in a deal with Pittsburgh. And then you take on Pittsburgh's situation. And this is interesting. From my talks to people close to the situation, there had been a movement within the Steelers. Hey, let's get more aggressive. We're a traditional franchise. We don't make a lot of big trades. You've got Omar Khan, who did contracts for them for many years, and he gets promoted as general manager. For people who said Omar Khan's conservative, you could throw that out the door. This is a go-for-it trade, Craig. This is it for the Steelers here. They're going for it. Rodgers, Jonnu Smith, and the big ones, Jalen Ramsey, they are absolutely going for it.
All right. Before we let you go, Adam, I know one topic we were set to talk about a lot here on the show is guaranteed contracts in the NFL. Yeah. Very similar to the other sports. Will we ever see it happen?
Well, we had it one with the Deshaun Watson contract for 5 years, fully guaranteed at $230 million. I was at that owners' meeting in 2022. There were a lot of teams who were upset at the Browns. No, that was part of, although it was a way smaller thing back in the 2020 negotiations. The league didn't push, the NFLPA didn't push hard enough on it. It'll be a bigger bone of contention when we get to the new CBA negotiations when it expires in 2031, March of 2031. But we're a ways away from it. But it's not a good look that players have not got what they wanted, and owners clearly do not want to budge on that issue.
Have you packed? You started packing yet? What are you, 2 weeks away? 3?
For camps, yeah, we're about 3 weeks away, yeah. Going to see a lot of joint practices, by the way, which I absolutely love.
Training camp is starting. Adam Caplan will be seeing a lot of him here on the show coming up real soon as we turn the month and the calendar to July starting tomorrow. Thanks again, Adam. Have a good week.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.
going to go with Cam Young at 30-1. I think it's a really nice course for him at the Rocket Mortgage in Detroit, Michigan for him. Wyndham Clark at 36-1. And I also like Alex Noren at 60-1.
My Morency drunken Brit dart toss golf pick, which does win like 2-3 times a year, guys. Some insanely enough. But I'm going to say Matt Fitzpatrick.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
I do believe that SJ now is the number one player in the world. The things that he can do from the point of attack, offensively and defensively, his ability to drive downhill and score at all three levels. And the thing about I like most about this young man at 26, he's so humble. He's so humble. And that speaks to the whole culture of OKC that Sam Presti and Mark Daigneault has built. Humble team, folks.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
No way that I'm betting on the Cleveland Cavaliers for any reason whatsoever.
No.
Ever. Like, when they had LeBron James, it was a different story. I think Spider's great. He's no LeBron. I don't see him carrying them to a title. And I don't believe in the Knicks at all. The Knicks never get it done.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Kevin Durant, at the age of 36 years old, after 17 seasons that he has played in the NBA DRS, is now on his way to H-Town.
I don't think it's a great move. I wanted him to go to a ready-made championship team full of a veteran roster and see if he can ring chase that way. Not to go to an organization on the come-up that if you just stay the course, and also, what better blueprint do we have than just staying the course than OKC, right?
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Great to catch up with Pat Evans from Legal Sports Report. It's been about a week since I've seen Pat to go over the latest in sports betting. And hey, it sort of feels like I'm picking up where we left off here. Casino gaming, online gaming, and some new developments in some smaller states. Let's start off, Pat, in Maine. And this is, sort of a state-by-state situation. Some states don't feel like online casino gaming should be legal, and others do. Seems like Maine is one of those states that's making a big decision this summer.
Yeah, Maine, I think, when we last talked, or when, I came on last week while you were gone, but when we last talked, we didn't really know where this was going. Online casino as a nationwide, industry, we figured might have a similar wave to sports betting back in 2020, 2021. Sports betting took over pretty easily past a lot of states, and we thought, okay, well, the next natural evolution is online casino. That has not been the case. We've seen lots of headwinds, even against the online sports betting industry, which has caused legislators to kind of balk at it and say, you know what, maybe let's take a longer look at this and see if it really makes sense, and if that much revenue to the state really does, positively contribute to the state, even with the negatives that might come with it. Well, in Maine earlier this year, they introduced it, got a little discussion, not a ton, and then it was tabled. So we figured, like other states that had started talking about it this year, we would, have to wait future years for further discussion. But, about a month ago, they picked up discussions pretty heavily. The House passed it. We thought maybe the Senate would not go ahead and pass it because it was pretty split there. But they went ahead and said, okay, if you concur, we'll throw it on the appropriations table. And I think that's where I last chatted with you about it, was the appropriations table. Is this table that, if anything has a fiscal note, if it affects the budget of the state, it has to pass this 13-member of legislators table, the appropriations table. Now, according to local media that carefully watches everything that happens on this table, only about 10% of bills get through. So again, it seemed like a major hurdle that wouldn't happen. But as it turns out, there were about 300 bills that made it to this table, and about 113, I think it was, made it off, including the online casino bill. So now it goes to Governor Janet Mills, whose administration testified against online casino throughout this process. So you have to wonder, is that indicative of her going to veto this bill, which of course would send it back, and it doesn't seem like there's support to override it. Plus, they're adjourned for the session, so very unlikely that would happen. So you'd have to redo this whole process again to get it to Mills. Again, indications in the past, if she's not very friendly to gambling, even though she was at the head of the state when online sports betting was passed. But it's not looking great for this online casino bill, which I guess I should break down real quick. It legalizes online casino through the 4 tribal nations in the state, which is just like online sports betting. 3 of those tribes for sports betting partnered with Caesars, 1 other one partnered with DraftKings. So it wouldn't be a great, big, vibrant market with 4 operators, and the like would probably be against Caesars and DraftKings. You have to imagine they'd stick with those same operators. But again, it's in Governor Mills's desk, or on the desk, I suppose, and we're waiting to see if she signs it, but indications point to a veto. But again, anything can happen.
All right. The pen could also not work, Pat, and then what would we do at that point? We don't know any way.
That's true.
Thought we just did emails those days. All right. Anyway. All right. So I felt like, talking to you, Rhode Island was a possibility of, getting sports betting here. And, we were closing out the summer here, maybe closing out the year with no states, legalizing sports betting. Of course, one is getting ready to launch here in December. But Rhode Island, any update there?
Yeah, so Rhode Island, we came into the legislative session with a report from, consultants saying the lottery should open up sports betting to more operators. There is one sports book product in Rhode Island that is through the lottery, partnered with IGT. And the thought is, when there's one sports book monopoly, the product's not great, the prices aren't great, your offerings aren't great. And so there was a bill that started and it passed one of the chambers, the Chamber of Origin, and said, you know what, let's open up to between 3 and 5 more sports books. And Rhode Island isn't a big state, but all these sports book operators do want a little bit more market. So you have to imagine there was hope there that this would be a state that kind of opens up. And unfortunately for Rhode Island residents and bettors, it fell apart and died on the floor of the second chamber because they just didn't get to it. They didn't get around to it. Now, the IGT contract as the monopoly provider for the lottery is up next year. It has a very long contract with the lottery, but the monopoly part of it is only through next year. So we'll see. I have to imagine another bill will come up to say this, or maybe just the lottery opens up applications for more next year, because that is what the House of Representatives Speaker said was, this isn't needed because the contract runs out next year. But again, you never know kind of how legalese is taken and what that means ultimately without legislative action. So again, we'll have to watch what happens in Rhode Island in the future and whether or not another bill is needed to open it up to more than just a monopoly sports book there in Rhode Island.
Let's get to Arizona here, Pat. And I know that the lead here for the story in Arizona is about more cease and desists for these peer-to-peer, non-regulated sports betting, quote, operators here. But I think what I've learned, Pat, and you'll educate me more, is, my gosh, there are a lot of these operators I've never even heard of before. I'm just saying, you throw some of these names out at me here, and I know you're going to do that here of these cease and desists. I didn't even know they existed in the first place. Sorry to say.
No, and it's true. I mean, we've seen a lot of those, and I think the biggest one is right here in Michigan, where I am, is the Michigan Gaming Control Board. They've sent out, I think, more than 50 cease and desists at this point. And yeah, you get down there in the 30s, 40s, 50s of those operators, and you're scratching your head at how do these people find these that are using them? And it is a question. But yeah, the Arizona Department of Gaming, this is their second big wave of cease and desist. They're pretty adamant about saying, you can only use the legal regulated online offerings, which is just sports betting in Arizona. So that's what's interesting there. So this is, again, their second wave. It includes an event wagering sportsbook of the black market called Rebet, a peer-to-peer exchange called Novig, raffles, which is the Dallas Safari Club and Phantom, sweepstakes, Stake US. You might have heard of that one. They have an F1 sponsorship, and they're a pretty significant player in that world. And then offering multiple bet types, Better Edge and High Five. And yeah, it is, again, that Arizona, like Michigan, like New Jersey, like Nevada, like several of these major gambling states with very strict regulators are saying, you know what? No, you can only bet on what we license, what we regulate, and you can use those. Don't use all these other ones because they don't offer protections. We're not going to go after them if you complain. things like that. And this is also of note. Remember, we talked about it a few months ago. Arizona Department of Gaming put out a PSA about illegal online casinos that were just posing as official partners of real brick and mortar casinos, which again, they said, wait, we don't have legal online casinos, so don't use those. So again, very interesting to see all these states take action against illegal and just kind of gray area gambling options.
All right. And finally, a quick update here on the sweepstakes operators in California. Still no legal sports betting there, and we don't anticipate that happening in the future. What about sweepstakes?
No, in sweepstakes, there is a bill, which we have detailed over at Legal Sports Report and on the show last week. Not surprisingly, a couple of these sweepstakes organizations have come out and said, hey, this is not cool. You're going to affect the McDonald's monopoly and Reader Digest pools. This is a weird way to go about it because it was just inserted into different existing legislation. So we'll see what happens. No major movement yet in the legislature, but that's why I watch it. That's why we come on here and keep your viewers and listeners updated.
Check out LegalSportsReport.com for that column about sweepstakes and everything more. Pat, appreciate you coming on the show. We'll catch up later in the week. Thanks for coming on NewsWire.
Thanks as always, Craig. Talk to you soon.
Coming up next, the Los Angeles Lakers are making an ownership change, but they are not making a player change. LeBron James will return for yet another season. What does that mean as he opts into his player option? We'll have Gilbert McGregor from Sporting News up next here on NewsWire to break down the latest in the National Basketball Association. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Cam Young at 30-1. I think it's a really nice course for him at the Rocket Mortgage in Detroit, Michigan for him. Wyndham Clark at 36-1. And I also like Alex Noren at 60-1.
My Morency drunken Brit dart toss golf pick, which does win like 2-3 times a year, guys. Insanely enough. But I'm going to say Matt Fitzpatrick.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
I do believe that SJ now is the number one player in the world. The things that he can do from the point of attack, offensively and defensively, his ability to drive downhill and score in all three levels. And the thing I like most about this young man at 26, he's so humble. He's so humble. And that speaks to the whole culture of OKC that Sam Presti and Mark Daigneault has built. Humble team, folks.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
No way that I'm betting on the Cleveland Cavaliers for any reason whatsoever.
No.
Ever. Like, when they had LeBron James, it was a different story. I think Spider's great. He's no LeBron. I don't see him carrying them to a title. And I don't believe in the Knicks at all. The Knicks never get it done.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Kevin Durant, at the age of 36 years old, after 17 seasons that he has played in the NBA DRS, is now on his way to H-Town.
I don't think it's a great move. I wanted him to go to a ready-made championship team full of a veteran roster and see if he can ring chase that way. Not to go to an organization on the come-up that if you just stay the course, and also, what better blueprint do we have than just staying the course and okay, safe, right?
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Gilbert McGregor going to be looking at his phone and refreshing quite a bit here over the next few days. The great thing about NBA free agency is that it happens fast, and then it usually pretty much ends fast too. And that's what I like about that in the sport. Let's bring in Gilbert to talk about that and the things we have already learned in the last 24 hours as free agency is set to open. Gilbert, thanks for coming on the show. So yes, there was some very big speculation that maybe LeBron James would call it a career with the ownership change, with Mark Walter buying in and Jeannie Buss buying out essentially here over the next few months. But it does appear that I don't know, Gilbert, not passing on $52 million, right? Like that's kind of hard to do for anybody at this stage.
Yeah, I don't care how old you are, how many miles you have on your body playing in the NBA. $52.6 million is hard to turn down. I think the interesting part now is what's next. What does this mean? There's that kind of a little bit luminous statement from him and Rich Paul saying, hey, we want to do what's best to win a championship. So maybe this means he wants out. Maybe this is kind of like a small swarming up into a trade request type situation. But for now, we at least know LeBron James is coming back for year 23.
Yeah, and so do you think that, realistically, I know that the statement here from Rich Paul says that he still believes that they could win a championship. I mean, I know they have two great players, Gilbert, but to me, can the Lakers win a series in the playoffs? Or yeah, I mean, sure, but the championship, Gilbert, this does not seem realistic to me.
Yeah, thinking about the Western Conference, thinking about the Thunder are only getting better. And the Mavericks are going to get better than they were last year. The Rockets have already gotten better. It's not easy to win in the Western Conference. And the Lakers, as we learned last year, have a flawed roster. And we'll get into the free agency situation and the landscape of free agents this year, but there aren't that many ways that they can improve the roster unless they are able to make some trades. And I guess now we've learned with the Lakers, never rule them out as far as that goes. And maybe that's all this is. Maybe this is LeBron James and his team just putting pressure on the Lakers front office to make the moves they need to get done. Wouldn't be the first time that they've done that, but it's very interesting the way they put it that way, because it does make it seem like they're opening the door a little bit or leaving open the room for the opportunity for him to go somewhere else.
All right, so here's what we know right now in the NBA before this thing gets crazy. James Harden is going to be back with the Clippers, which is shocking that Harden will play like 3 years with one team. He doesn't like doing that, but I think he's going to take money here. Timberwolves has re-signed Julius Randle, Naz Reid. No surprise there. This was a surprise over the weekend. Lonzo Ball was traded to Cleveland for Isaac Okoro, and the Warriors tendered a qualifying offer to Jonathan Kuminga. I guess that's not surprising. So Lonzo Ball, I guess, Chicago, they've just, kind of had enough here. Traded to the Cleveland Cavaliers. What do you make of him being healthy? You think there's a chance? I mean, that's kind of the key.
That's the major thing. And I think he'd be a great fit in Cleveland. I think Cleveland is also bracing themselves for the departure of Ty Jerome, which, if you asked me a year ago, I don't think we'd be talking about Ty Jerome during NBA free agency, but he had a big year, so shout out to him. But Lonzo Ball fits great, especially with that second unit. Could be a primary ball handler, can also knock down jumpers. And the big thing is, can he stay healthy, but also can they limit their workload or his workload to keep him healthy? So is he only playing 18, 20 minutes a game? I think he can be effective in that type of role. And we saw the Cavaliers trying to improve in the margins after coming up short this year in the postseason. But what you said with all these guys re-signing kind of speaks to the landscape of free agents this year. Most of the guys, there isn't that much money out there to be had. I think the Nets are the only team that actually have cap space and can sign anybody outright. So you're going to see a lot of guys just stay put where they are. You're also going to see a lot of trades probably in order to maybe some sign and trades to facilitate guys going to other teams. But that means I think that we probably won't see that much action right away when free agency starts. It's going to be guys like Quentin Grimes, Nickeil Alexander-Walker. But the big names, if they're moved, will be via trade.
Golden State certainly is kind of the beginning of the end for them. They're in win now mode. Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler. Let's keep it real. The next 2 years, they're going to have to get it done. So players they're looking at, we've heard Herb Jones maybe. Nickeil Alexander-Walker is a possibility. It looks like Kuminga could be one of those sign and trade type players. What do you think's next for the Warriors?
Yeah, they have not that much wiggle room to make things work, and they have a good trade chip in Kuminga, as we talked about, but it's the big question of what team out there believes in him. And then the second part is, does that team have somebody that you value, or maybe they play a long game? We saw this with the Warriors a few years ago where they were able to sign and trade Kevin Durant for D'Angelo Russell and eventually use D'Angelo Russell for a trade that got them a championship with Andrew Wiggins. But we didn't get them a championship, but it helped them get there. So I wouldn't be surprised if they played a long game here and just get Kuminga somewhere else and they can get some value. And then just, again, this is a trade that precludes another trade, but the Warriors do not have that much of a margin of error, just given these guys are getting older. We saw last year how quick it goes down. Steph Curry goes down with a soft tissue issue, and then that just kind of ruins their entire playoff run. So it's interesting when you have an aging team. You don't have that much room to work with, so the Warriors are going to have to be very smart with their moves.
Yeah, definitely have to play for now, I would think, with aging superstars and potential Hall of Famers there. Okay, so here we are, July. Tomorrow, Knicks still don't have a head coach here. What is going on, Gilbert? They're using words like casting a wide net, which tells me that's AKA we can't find anybody to coach this team. So this is actually really interesting. Dawn Staley is a possibility for coaching the team. And again, no disrespect to Dawn Staley, they've tried several others that haven't worked. And so is this realistic? Do you think that they could actually do this? I mean, this would be certainly groundbreaking in the history of the NBA. I just don't know how realistic it is. It feels like Staley, regardless, if she takes the job or not, is what, their third choice, fourth choice at this point?
Right. I mean, you think about all the head coaches that have turned them down or the franchises that have denied their opportunities. They're getting low on their list. And Dawn Staley is a great coach, legend in her own right, especially what she's doing at South Carolina. And there's history between her and Jalen Brunson. Got some Philadelphia roots there, especially with Rick Brunson as well. So there's a connection there. And it's always important to keep your star player happy. But I feel like she is in her best spot in South Carolina. I think that would be a tough job for anybody to take as their first NBA job. So I don't see it playing out that way, but I do think it speaks to her excellence as a head coach. They're going for second round interviews with Taylor Jenkins and Mike Brown. It feels like it's going to be one of those guys, but there's always a room for a dark horse candidate to come up. But they need to act quickly because it's hard to bring in free agents and make moves when you don't have a coach to have a vision for their team.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, at this point, I don't know what direction the Knicks are going to go. I mean, got to call Don Nelson again. I don't even know. I mean, George Karl, I saw his name out there recently. It's crazy stuff. All right, Gilbert, thanks again for coming on. We'll catch up with you later in the week when free agency comes to a close, open and close pretty quick. Thanks again.
Sounds good. Looking forward to it.
All right, Gilbert McGregor, sporting news. Well, I was out all last week. I was in Cooperstown, New York. I'm going to tell you and show you some of the results from where I was after this.
Cam Young at 30-1. I think it's a really nice course for him at the Rocket Mortgage in Detroit, Michigan for him. Wyndham Clark at 36-1. And I also like Alex Noren at 60-1.
Mike Morency, drunken Brit dart toss, golf pick, which does win like 2-3 times a year, guys. Insanely enough. But I'm going to say Matt Fitzpatrick.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
I do believe that SJ now is the #1 player in the world. The things that he can do from the point of attack, offensively and defensively, his ability to drive downhill and score in all three levels. And the thing I like most about this young man at 26, he's so humble. He's so humble. And that speaks to the whole culture of OKC that Sam Presti and Mark Daigneault has built. Humble team, folks.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
No way that I'm betting on the Cleveland Cavaliers for any reason whatsoever.
No.
Ever. Like, when they had LeBron James, it was a different story. I think Spider's great. He's no LeBron. I don't see him carrying them to a title. And I don't believe in the Knicks at all. The Knicks never get it done.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Kevin Durant, at the age of 36 years old, after 17 seasons that he has played in the NBA DRS, is now on his way to H-Town.
I don't think it's a great move. I wanted him to go to a ready-made championship team full of a veteran roster and see if he can ring chase that way. Not to go to an organization on the come-up that if you just stay the course, and also, what better blueprint do we have than just staying the course and safe, right?
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. If you catch our show every single day, very much appreciate it. You may have noticed for the first time since we launched NewsWire here on SportsGrid several years ago, I was out the entire week. Yes, this is true. Very rare for me. The reason why was because me and my son and my wife traveled to Cooperstown, New York to participate, watch my son participate in the tournament in Cooperstown at Dreams Park. And I'm going to show you some of those highlights right now here as we begin Last Licks. All right, so let's begin with this. Now, I want you to picture this, okay? You have a daughter or son playing youth baseball, and they've played their entire life. And the pinnacle of this, every single year when you become 12 years old, the rite of passage is you, your team, your son or daughter get to fundraise and essentially pay, it's true, for the opportunity to play amongst 100 other teams in Cooperstown, New York. We went this past week. And my son participated with his team. The name was the Driftwood Dragons, 12-year-old team. And, my son has been playing youth ball for 6-7 years. And he's been really good. He's had a great time. But the pinnacle was the moment that I'm about to show you here, because although he has hit triples and doubles and even home runs inside the park, he had never hit one over the fence in Cooperstown. So here we go. This is the first ever home run for my son Hayes. Watch it. So at that point, and by the way, I missed all of that celebration because I was running around the fence to go retrieve the ball. Oh, I should have brought the ball for the show. I still have the ball, got it engraved. So that was that night. He ends up hitting a home run. So we're like, okay, we're playing with house money the rest of the way. So the next morning, played another game, and here is his very next at-bat the next day at Dreams Park at Cooperstown. 200-foot fences and altitude of 1,000, by the way, at upstate New York in Cooperstown. I will tell you that the experience of going and watching your kid play and having success at it and doing things that they've never done for the first time, once in a lifetime experience. Our experience was at Dreams Park. There's actually another one called All-Star Park where you could participate as well. Our team ended up going 5-2 over the course of the 7 games, lost twice, inevitably, to one of the teams that ended up playing for the championship. They lost that championship last night. So congrats to the Driftwood Dragons for such a wonderful season, and highly recommend the experience if you have a chance to go when your son or your daughter is 12 years old. That'll do it for the show today. Thanks again to all of our guests here on the program, including Gilbert McGregor of Sporting News, Pat Evans of Legal Sports Report, Tom Vecchio of SportsGrid, of course, our SportsGrid NFL insider, Adam Caplan. Coming up next year on the show, Smiley Kaufman with the latest of the PGA Tour, getting ready for next month's British Open. That's followed by Pharrell Coast to Coast at 3, and then Front Office Sports from 6 to 6:30. We've got Game Time Decisions, and then In-Game Live later tonight, and Gabe wraps the day up with a little sports rage. You can also download the SportsGrid app if you want our schedule or the latest odds, news, notes, information, and the very latest going on with everything in the world of sports, including our programming at SportsGrid. Make sure you download that SportsGrid app. It's available for both iOS and Android. Thanks again to our director, Luke, and for my producer, Frank. I'm Craig Mish. Great to be back in the saddle with you here on SportsGrid. And guess what? We'll have another show for you live, NewsWire, tomorrow morning. That's Tuesday, 11 a.m. Eastern. So enjoy the rest of your Monday. Get ready for a crazy day in NBA free agency and more Major League Baseball action to catch. And we'll do our first show in July tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Eastern. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day. I'll see you then.